IntellectualRadio.com. Feed your brain. Feed me now. I'm starving.
Hey, it's me, Wanda B, and you are tuned into He Said, She Said on IntellectualRadio.com. We're so excited. Christmas is over for the people who celebrate. If you celebrate Christmas, and it is going to be a new year, 2020. And I am so excited and happy to have with me James Warshade and the Capricorn herself, Valencia.
Happy Capricorn season.
Happy Capricorn
She's been
season.
celebrating that since the first second.
When did Capricorn start? December 21st, 22nd? I mean,
somewhere in there. But I was a couple days
December
early.
21st at 11:58.
Yeah. Count down. Your season almost over, and our season is coming.
Wrap it up. Yeah.
Then she was gonna say today, what was your post that the weather is Capricorn weather? I'm like, my birthday in February, we got just as bad a weather.
Yeah,
the weather.
we get the worst. We have the storms, the snowstorms. We don't know if
February does
come out and all of that, but
February
we are so lucky and we are enjoying this so much.
And so there's a lot of Capricorns part of the Intellectual Radio family. We got Valencia, Marvin, who is been on the show, Tally Ray, who has been on some Intellectual Radio shows, David Seaton, who has been on our show, L. Williams, who has Becoming Dateable. His birthday was last week. Zimra, Here's to Life, which is on Tuesdays. Her birthday was Friday, and we celebrated last night. So just if I missed any of you all, because it's a lot of y'all, I don't know. I got to count 9 months back to y'all. If y'all 12, what was happening there? Oh, see, cold in March. Must have been a cold February, March.
Spring love.
Spring love.
Spring love.
Whole lot of y'all. Oh, Dre.
Yes.
Dre. Then Rose from Dre and Company.
Yeah.
And Rose Wellington.
Paradise
Productions.
Just a whole bunch of y'all.
Oh, Ken Bedford.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's tons of y'all. And when I really think of how many Capricorns I know. So, Kara, his birthday is coming up too.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
His is around yours.
Yeah.
So, a shout out to all the Capricorns. Happy birthday. So, today we're going to talk about, we're going to go straight into it. We're going to talk about, give me a second, it's coming, 5 stages of love, as well as we were talking crazy, like how much crazy should you put up with in your relationship? Should it be a part of your relationship? And I use the term crazy very loosely because I'm not a fan of the word crazy.
You mean cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
I don't like saying it because honestly, when we talk mental health, it has a bad connotation of calling people crazy. But that's my feeling about it. But that's what we're gonna talk about today. So you guys share the broadcast here.
Ain't nobody playing
today.
today.
He said, she said.
Ain't nobody
the Bears
playing.
Not playing.
They done.
Oh, the Bears are done.
Done. Stick a fork in them.
They saying the same thing they've said the last done. 99 years. Next year.
Done. I mean, like
next year is our year.
They done.
Are they done? So I'm about to start a watch party. I'm going to ask you to keep track of our dear watch party that
you know what? I accidentally started one.
Oh, that's good. That's as long so you can keep track.
I
don't
of it. Even know what
in the group
is.
though, right?
No, I don't know how. I wasn't
okay.
trying.
Then
to
I'm gonna start
party.
one, which means then we got to watch because people and please, I haven't started yet to tell you all to get to your comments because we had a faux pas where we didn't address people in the watch party, and I don't want y'all to get mad at me because we loves you. We loves you.
Right.
We appreciate the interaction.
We appreciate
so you started a watch party. I watched
all.
it. I just ended my watch party.
And it started, and he said, she said, and so we're not trying to ignore you. We're just trying to fit as many comments as we and Valencia and James and I will all be working to make sure you are heard because it matters to us.
All comments matter.
All comments matter.
Right. Somebody in rare form today.
But
I don't know if she ornery. No. You know what? I'm chill today.
You chill.
Okay.
I'm chill. I don't know if Valencia can get ornery anymore. She's so zen now.
Yeah, I'm so zen. I'm like,
tell them where you been because
I have been in a program called Life Skills, and we don't like to call it psychotherapy. Call it psychoeducation.
Oh, okay.
And so it is rewiring the brain. It is getting back in touch with why you believe and think. What are your triggers?
I love it.
And touching it, dealing with it, and then releasing it and then becoming who you were meant to become.
I know that's
and
right.
not the person you became due to curses and
Life
passing on stuff and
experiences.
experiences
3
and all that
shondos
stuff.
for that.
Yeah, and just learning, when it's really vital. So now my granddaughter, they said when you know better, you do better. My granddaughter is gonna be phenomenal because now I know what's getting in her head right now at 3 months, all the way up to 7, 8 years. And I'm going to beat her mama and her daddy upside the head. We're going to get this one right here. So, so that's what I've been doing. So I am more zenned out a little bit. I'm much more zenned out.
It definitely helps. I'm trying to turn the sound off my laptop. It definitely helps. I know when I sometimes will tell people you meet my journey to wholeness self. If you had met me, sometimes it still pop out.
Right. Sometimes we ain't made it to that chapter yet. Right. I tell people, I'm like, I'm going, but it's some chapters that I haven't quite covered yet. You might still want to.
I might need a refresher.
Slow down. Right.
Yeah.
You still might want to slow it down.
Even as the past, I had to remind people, you do know I'm from the manor, right?
Just
I didn't forget I didn't forget where I grew up now. Hold on now. But praise the Lord.
Absolutely. Won't he will.
My granddaughter does with her little one. With the finger up. I said, is that the Jesus finger? Well, every time she put it up, we like, won't he do it? Won't he will? And we had good fun with that. This holiday season with her because I don't know why it's 8 months old. She just keep doing this. I was like, yes, he will.
You can always tell when a person in the Lord about to go off, they just get to laughing and ain't nothing funny.
Because they getting that word right there. The Spirit is speaking to them right in that moment. Let me hear it.
Okay.
Scoot over in towards me some so I can see you too.
Like,
it's good.
Okay,
so
Jesus.
we just had somebody else join us on our team.
Hey,
we in full effect today. Hey.
Green.
In dot, in dot in the hills.
It's just a little coffee like you got.
Look,
That's it.
Celebrate.
A little jolly coffee.
I can't even lie. Look, she got the bottle in the camera.
So festive. Can we talk about the holiday Christmas and the eyes are green? She got the whole Christmas.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Still trying to wipe mine off from last night. I can't even.
Just wear it again. Just do it on purpose. Act like
I guess that's what happens when you only pay $1.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about. Let's start with. Should you go from 5 down, 1 up? How does this list of stages of love? How does that flow? Does it flow in a direction?
Yeah, it does. It flow in a direction, all right.
So we have a group, he said, she said on Facebook. I love for people to join the group. These conversations we're having right now, we have in the group. So if you're in the group, hi guys. If you're joining the watch party, hello. And if you're listening on any platform that Intellectual Radio is on, whether it's Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, iHeart. I can't think of them all because we are everywhere. Apple Podcasts. So if you're listening on any of those formats, go to Facebook and you can comment there, or you can always listen wherever you're listening at. But also join our group. He said, she said, or hit like on our group. So here we go.
Because the conversations be real.
This week has been very interesting. I ducked out a few days to just enjoy the holidays and take myself away from social media.
Had time this week.
Boy,
people are on break.
You could tell.
On vacation, and they got time.
What was the most talked about topic you think this week for as relationships go?
It was a few of them that was highly discussed. One of them had to do with putting the super producers giving us instructions. One of them was about
that was a good one.
Okay.
That was a good one. Oh wait, that was good.
I gotta go back to it now.
We'll keep going. We'll give you time to because I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
So am I. because I know who posted it, and I know what the discussion, but I don't remember what the topic was.
Well, tell me who posted it. We may be able to come up with the rest.
I know there was one posted. There was one I posted, and I don't remember neither one of the actual topics, but I remember some of the conversations in those topics,
which were about. You don't remember it then. You just said
something that popped up. Oh, another one just popped on the screen. That's why I flipped it up.
You said I remember what we talked about. Okay, but I don't know what it was.
But then it was.
We gonna come off with it. So y'all pull up the 5.
Hold on.
So did you all know that there were even 5 stages of love?
I had no idea until this morning.
I just love, baby.
I knew about the love languages. I didn't know about the stages.
Oh, yeah.
What was the topic? Go ahead and tell us.
She said, "What is it? You spend less when you date." I should say when you date anybody. You spend less when you're dating a woman that likes you.
I believe that's true. What do you all think?
My question to that was, well, what if he likes her? Because when a man really likes a woman,
he doesn't care about how much
he doesn't care
money.
about that. And sometimes it could be more because he won't spend on one he doesn't. The one he likes gets the gifts, the trips, the whatever.
And he doesn't even question the amount.
Yeah, exactly. So,
in my opinion, because the guy's about to.
My factual opinion.
I think your factual opinion.
Somewhere in school, you gonna realize that factual opinion ain't right. You ain't got to that.
I ain't on that chapter yet. Yeah.
So you did ask that question. Mm-hmm. What does a man do? What about when he really likes her? Then he starts making future plans for her and them. So it might be. So a guy who has the means has no problem. Actually, some of the guys who don't have the means have no problem spending on a woman they really like. But that is not the key indicator that he likes her, though. The key indicator that he likes her is that he starts planning future. I mean, he don't want her to get away.
Right. And then all of that still means he's spending more. He's spending more time to investing. He's spending his money in investments. So the bigger thing at the end, so he can spend more.
Because when you think if you're spending more time, if we believe time is money, he's not quantifying. He just wants to be with you, right? I mean, it just isn't.
That ain't how men think. We quantify a lot of stuff. So yes, just because a man spending time spending money does not mean he likes her. But a man not spending money is an indicator that he don't.
Okay, got that.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely get that.
But the indicator that he does is he'll talk future plans. If he's not talking future plans with you, run for the hills because he doesn't really like you.
But still, my point still remains. And in those future plans, it's still a plan to be able to take care of her, which still comes out that you need money to do that. So he will wind up spending more. He will invest to be able to spend the most.
You said that because many times, and I know my fellow, many times women say, it ain't about the money.
It's not.
We don't want your money. And we be like, that's some bull.
No, I don't want you for your money.
For your money.
I don't want you for your money.
You need to add a only.
Right. I don't want you for your money.
Only.
I don't want you for your money. Your money is a great bonus to you being an awesome guy. You having money. Let's just stop dancing around and making money the devil.
It's not the devil.
The money is what makes the world go round. It makes things easier when you have a bad health. If you have enough money to where you can get the best doctors, the best treatment. Money is your friend. You make money your enemy on the how you want it, why you want it, and how you get it. But money is necessary. And when we put that stigma off of people wanting the money, then we can realize, and that's what a lot of the conversations that we have in the group lately has been triggering. It's like, how much should a man spend on a date?
Most of it has
how
been
much should a man
regarding
spend on
money.
the first date? How much should he spend? He shouldn't do that. He's trying out. If you need somebody to spend, he doing
or
it.
she's tricking.
And she's only looking for a date. And it's all about the money. And what we're doing with the money, and we're protecting this money. And half of us don't even have enough money to be having that conversation. But even on whatever scale your money is, it gets back to money, and we demonize it when we want to, and then we praise it in another situation when we want to. So it's I think it's one of those.
I definitely agree with you, Valencia, on this one. It's one of those things where it goes back to love language. if you know this is how the person receives love, why tiptoe around it? We're always back at the conversation where men say, no, this is what we want from the woman. We want her to be able to take care of the household, blah, 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 blah. And then women are saying, no, we want this. This is what defines a man, him being able to make decisions, alpha male, and all of this stuff. And then we argue and debate it. But if we're saying that, like, this is how we receive and understand your interest in love, but I'm at an age where like it's just exhausting. Just give me what I want. And I'm gonna give you what you want, and we're gonna be good.
Whoa!
Give me what I want.
Oh, jeez, tell us how you really feel.
Happy holidays.
So and happy holidays.
Yeah. It's you want, Damian. What you want?
I'm just saying, I just want to be happy.
But I can't give you that.
And that's no. You cannot bring the stress and the drama that goes with the back and forth.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to the stage.
Happiness, of course, that's innate completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want the added stress of having a companion and then you're stressing me. And then that in turns, because you're not giving me what I want, which is not a list of like, he got to have this figures, he got to have this job. It's very intangible things.
Like
what? Time. My love language really is
quality
being able
time.
to spend time.
Y'all know I hate the word love
the
language,
time.
right?
Yeah, but
y'all know I hate the words love language.
Think they're needed.
I think it's necessary.
I know you feel
they
it.
romance languages,
but I don't romance my children. I have found that in some ways, I guess I don't know, but I've found even using love languages on all relationships is beneficial. So I wouldn't change it to love.
I feel you.
To romance because.
But what I'm learning is we think those are our love languages. But some of that stuff is learned behavior from what we saw, what we got, whether it's from mom and dad, whether it's from the TV, whether it was whatever. And then the other problem I think we have with saying, I want to be happy is that doesn't define it enough. So in my learnings here, we have a sheet of feeling words. Okay. And so under happy, there's so much more. And the problem with using the happy, sad, angry words is it really doesn't describe what's truly going on. What is it that you're really looking for? What does happy mean? Does happy mean respected, love, time? So it means something else. But and for everybody else, happy means honored, whatever the case may be. So it's different things. So when we say he should make me happy, we need to have a better
language. That needs to be defined.
Absolutely. We need a better description. We need better words because that's where the blockage is coming from. That's why we don't understand each other.
Because we're know what makes you happy. I'm going to do what.
And here's the worst part. Yeah, here's the worst part.
Yeah. And I don't have to even explain it to myself. So I don't need the words for myself. But trying to get Wanda to understand what I need from Wanda to make me happy, I got to do better than Wanda. I need to be happy.
Right. And then the smile on your face makes me think you are happy. But you might be smiling out of courtesy, not happiness.
True.
And for a lot of us, that I
think a lot of people operate in relationships out of courtesy.
Out of courtesy. You know what catches men off guard? Right before the woman leaves, she's the happiest.
I could see that because I know I'm about.
Did you all know that? Because she's already made. She's
happy.
No, happy because what happens is she has decided. She now sees her future without you, and it looks bright.
But sometimes
cheery or just a light lifted.
Yeah, a little freer.
Now, a weight is lifted because
I can get that.
I'm prepared to close this chapter.
Yeah, no matter what's on.
Or the chapter's already closed.
And it's an enlightening moment.
Because most people.
It's an enlightening moment too at that time because at that point you know why you're leaving.
Oh yeah.
When you passed us the list this morning, I was like, wow. I think that there should be another number added of maintenance because what's happening right now, I'm at that age group where my friends are either have figured out that there's a maintenance period to maintain their marriages and relationships that they started in their 20s, or they've grown and developed and someone has stayed the same and they're not on the same page of maintaining the new who they are as growing and developing human beings. And so
but
that ends in divorce.
That goes right to the mental health. Because what the problem is once again, we go back and we're saying necessarily that we're growing and we outgrew when necessarily we never were. Is the problem. Like no one never was. We don't even know. And so the maintenance piece is never ending.
Never.
It's never ending when you're in a marriage. It's never ending. The maintenance is never ending. And what's necessary to get back to, which I have a better understanding now of, loving someone and letting them be. Because when you let them be, the key. That growth and change is not painful. For you or them when you're letting them be, because both of you all are being and you understand that this is just okay and every day is a different day and we're growing and
do you know how counter that is to what we've been taught in society to just let a person be?
Well, sometimes some people haven't got with somebody who is who they could be with. So it's hard to let them be.
But a lot of times
they aren't.
They were when we met.
No, they may not even know. They know that you're not everything, but I'm gonna go with it. You got a house. I see.
It's what society says I'm supposed to have.
Society,
said yes to the ring because of that.
But see, that's when you're not dating.
We were at a juncture that society said this is what a woman should have at this moment, and so I was like, well, shoot. I can make this work. Like,
right. He ain't a bad guy.
He ain't a bad guy completely.
You got a good job.
Yes. Yeah, you look good on paper.
We'll be stable. We'll be able to
my family tolerates him, so we good. We
right.
But that's when you're dating. I call that the Build-A-Bear relationship. That's when you're dating the person you built in your head. Versus the person who actually exists.
But it still goes back to the societal pressures. Society says that, young women graduating or, coming out of college or coming out of high school, this is what you should have attained by this point, by this point, by this point. And until you get to a point of just natural development, like, this is some BS. You can make your own decisions. You can create your own reality and just be. That you don't have to subscribe to what society says. This is what makes you whole and complete or a worthy woman,
But I know for me, definitely at the age I was very intent at 20. I knew what I wanted in life. So having the society thing of this path I'm supposed to be on and really looking into who he was. I didn't even really know who I was. I mean, I was who I was.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, what I knew to be true at that time. And like when you talk about the maintenance of it and the growing up, is as I started doing the work on me, then starting to realize what I had got into because of it. And then you try, and I didn't have the tools to fix it. I just really didn't know how. So I'm fixing it the way most people tell you to fix it. And it's not the way that was going to fix it.
And so then my question is, going back to Valencia's comment, is it really a mental issue or is it just natural progression? I don't think that it means that you're not in tune with where you are, your mental stability per se, but it's just naturally growing.
Actually, it has a lot to do with mental health because the person that you create in your mind that you want to be with is oftentimes based on the attachment style that you have developed throughout your childhood. And the attachment styles are different, but we develop coping mechanisms based upon the things we didn't get growing up.
Exactly.
And that becomes our attachment style.
So I'll read, because I looked this up before the show. Mental health and what does mental health really mean? And so mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. So what that's saying is we get sometimes we think mental health is mental illness.
Right.
It's not the same. And so we don't like to talk about it. So your mental health means all of these things. And you got your mental health from your upbringing. And so when I say that, yeah, you may call it growing, but even in that, you still change your belief or your desire based on that interaction you just had. You just said, okay, I don't like that, so now I like this, instead of still getting back to the root of why were you even going after this?
Why do I like what I like? Where did I acquire that?
Where are the life commandments, which is what they're called, where I'm learning is the life commandments. So whereas you said society said we should, that is something subconsciously you have that made you go through life with that and made you be on that journey for that. Exactly. And getting to where did it come from? And so those are the things that I'm saying we are so far from in our community, having that conversation.
We don't even know that exists.
And these are the things that we need to be teaching versus some stuff that we never. I never use trigonometry ever. I haven't.
You know what I'm saying?
I have not used trigonometry. I can't even say the word trig. The rest, y'all know I call it trig. Right? We used to cut it off.
Trig 101.
And so I haven't used it once. But if we were to begin to like really get back and find out those things that we're saying and we think they're harmless, the comments that we say that are so damaging.
Just me.
Yeah, it's just me. Or girls shouldn't do that, or sex is this, and how it can linger all the way to some grown woman right now can't even have sex with her husband properly because of something that
we about to go. Let's
from church or
exactly.
And it's still happening though. I mean, you can go through the group and hear people give their opinions on how something is or isn't, and you go, "Wow, this is way deeper." Yeah.
So I'm getting my doctorate in Christian counseling. One of the first things that I now do when I read our comments and listen to people or meet with clients is I figure out and I help them figure out what's their attachment style. And where did it come from? Because the attachment style we're supposed to all thrive for is secure. Secure means I can let you be who you are and I'm going to be comfortable being who I am. No matter how you feel today or how I feel today, I'm cool with you being you. Most of us never get there. Number one.
That's the least.
That's the least.
Least common.
That's the least common. But you know what? You know what's funny? That's actually normal, and the rest is traumatic. But we think the trauma is normal. But it's the least common.
Without the trauma, that is how we would.
That is. The next one is avoidant. So the three of them are avoidant.
These are attachment style.
Your attachment style.
Fearful, avoidant.
So an avoidant attachment style is like you
avoid all.
You don't want intimacy.
Explain for me and our listeners. When you say attachment, what do you mean? Dating style?
How we come together, how we relate to one another, whether it's in business, relationship, marriage, friendship, how we relate to one another. So if I had an avoidant attachment style with the Valencia, if an issue came up, I wouldn't address it. If she began to get too close, I probably would avoid her altogether.
He's the ghoster.
Yeah. I'm the garage with no reason. Mm-hmm. Then you got ambivalent attachment style. That's the one where I want intimacy so bad, but I'll never trust you. Bless you. I want it bad, but I'm like, because when I was growing up, this happened and that happened, and we never get close. And then the disordered attachment style is we just don't know what we want.
What do you do with that knowledge? Once you find out that your attachment style, and it doesn't sound like all of them are something you should be, what are you supposed to do?
3 of them are unhealthy. 1 of them is healthy.
So what do you do?
So the first question you got to ask yourself whenever you feel any kind of way is, when did I first feel this? And why do I feel this way as a result of this trigger? But what we often do is we blame the other person. So what I try to share with people now is most of the time, the person you're running from, and I'm not talking about an abusive, and I'm talking about physically abusive relationship. Most of the time, the person you're running from is the person designed to help you heal, because they're uncovering all kinds of triggers. But we've never been taught how to heal. We've never actually been taught how to heal. So the proper question is, when was the first time I felt this? And why is this bothering me? And if you can address the first time you've ever felt that feeling of, so for example, so, let's just say my wife doesn't call. It's been 8 hours. I'm expecting her, and she should have called me by now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm really feeling is maybe abandoned a little bit. Mm-hmm. When was the first time I've ever felt that feeling? And why? What happened in that stage?
And it's hard for people to get there because once again, we go back to the pedestals of parents.
Oh, yeah.
We put them on the pedestals, whether it's dad, especially if it was a single mother.
We
have them on the pedestals. And because those triggers come from when you were 2 and 3,
when you were 2 and 3, even in the crib.
Absolutely. And it was something that your parents did or did not do that caused you to feel this, that you didn't like that feeling. And you don't want to go back because now you have to say, Mom wasn't perfect like we have her there. And that is a big block for people, even before you get to yourself and say that you were wrong and you made bad choices. We cannot say that Mom was not perfect.
So recently, that the work I've done in therapy was the attachment style. So when you said
I want to get the clinical definitions. I want to get the clinical ones in a moment.
I can be transparent. I'm a fearful avoidant, and I see fearful avoidant in most of my dealings. It's not just.
Let me go back to what that. Let's say what they really are. So the 4 of them is really secure, anxious, preoccupied, dismissive, avoidant, and fearful avoidant. And we'll get into
explain what fearful, because Nina just said that's what she was. So explain what
they're the ones who are unpredictable. Well, you want to explain it as a fearful avoidant? Go ahead.
As a fearful avoidant, I am the type that I will engage in relationships, but that's
only
it
to a certain extent.
So I do these test measures to see what your true intentions are. However, because I'm so guarded, you never get past the testing stage because the test is really a trap to
fail.
It's designed for you to fail, right?
You want them to fail.
To actually give me the comfort of, I knew this is what was going to happen, and so
self-sabotage.
Mine came from just childhood, semi-traumatic experience. Like you said, you have to be honest about the parenting. Not that I'm honest that I didn't grow up in a Cosby household. I'm honest that my parents use what they had to make it work, and so I'm still alive. It didn't kill me.
I think we have to, and I don't mean to cut you off. Like you say with your parents, I think one thing that helps that is the system is human. They were doing the best they knew at that time. If they knew better, they would have done better. But they didn't know better. And
I didn't understand that.
You don't have to act like you're being angry with your parents because they didn't do this.
Exactly.
Honestly, they were doing the best they knew how. When I went back and thought about, and I've only done this recent, what my mother actually saw. Where did she get this from? And I thought, well, okay, my grandfather, I know, was abused. What did she see how to love? Then you can have a little bit more compassion for them, that they wasn't trying to hurt you. They weren't. I mean, there probably got some that do. So don't take this to the extreme, because I know somebody got some parents that's probably doing something real extreme, locked in the closet right now. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
You listening from the closet? I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry.
I don't mean to laugh. I mean it. Right. But I'm saying, once you start to have some compassion for how they were raised, if you take that one step further, that if you're doing it for yourself to find out where you came in, that you take that one step further and give them that same compassion too. So,
and it doesn't have to be an Iyanla moment where you have to go talk, bring your mama and make her cry. And, it's more. It's for you. One of the works for you. It's all for you. It's a conversation that you may not even have to have with your parents.
No,
but it's a conversation where, hey, this is where this behavior comes from, and let me be real intentional about not continuing to do it. And you guys know I had the pleasure of raising my great niece for 7 months, and so I was very intentional of not giving her those same tidbits that she has to grow up and be like, now I got to go sit on somebody's couch because Auntie Mom didn't do this, or Mom didn't do this, and I didn't have this. So being intentional about what I put out there, so that others.
That is the whole point of healing, though, because it's to take it to the next level,
to break the generational curse,
bingo,
break the curse, and pass on health,
and even the curse with yourself. Because a lot of times I see myself unintentionally still behaving in a certain way and I can see the curse even still going on within myself. It's that you have to, it's constant
work.
My tea is hot.
So this is Capsule light. You want me to turn it off?
Sometimes said Valencia and Dot, it must be the holidays.
I know, right? It's New Year.
Hush your face. Miracle.
It's Capricorn season.
It was just Sagittarius season.
Oh goodness. The fighter, the Aquarius is coming, y'all. Are we after? I think we after you all. So I'm creeping up behind Miss Valencia.
Y'all start on the 19th. No, the 20th.
Right, so don't give them none of that.
Right. Here's what's funny. Well, not funny. Here's what's important to know: what it's like dating a fearful avoidant. If you're ever in a relationship with somebody who feels like they're hot one moment, cold the next, they push you away, but then they pull you close. They want you real bad, but they don't. That's a fearful avoidant. That is what dating a fearful avoidant feels like.
Okay, tell me another.
I'm sorry.
I got.
What'd you say?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry you was dating a fearful avoidant.
No, and I run hot and cold. If I'm if today we good, we good.
And then you don't have to do nothing wrong.
If like,
you know what's bad?
It's just like,
here's what's funny. Good. Here's what's confusing about a fearful avoidant. Because one of the tenets is confusion. Here's what's confusing. The better you are to a fearful avoidant, the further they push you away.
Yeah. Because we think the bottom is about to fall.
That's exactly what it is. They're afraid that something's about to happen. So, and what happens is when they push you away, you try to be better to them. And then they push you further away.
But it feeds into the whole notion. So, and I kid you not, I just recently, somebody I completely ignored has come 360. I'm like, see, that's all you got to do is ignore and treat them bad. And then they come like, hi. You're like, why are you accepting this? But I'm doing better. I'm doing no one is a huge part.
Penny for that thought. Because that's what it's like dating a fearful avoidant. The better you are to them, the further they push you away.
Which is all, I think, when we started talking about this, we were talking about mental health. And I think when we talk about that stigma of mental health, and we have to, that's why I don't care for the term crazy, because if you label everybody as crazy, nobody wants to, when it's really a well-being check like you would for diabetes, like you would for your, for your blood pressure. It's a check to see if you in the right space for you, because you want to operate at your healthiest from top to toe. I mean, getting pedicures, you need to get some checkups of see it too. I mean,
from a mental health standpoint, where you need to exercise your muscles a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Where you need to lose a little weight at, and some some stuff we got to share.
Those who do none of that, you wash your car, you get your oil change, you do those mainly. Everybody don't do all the stuff y'all saying.
Don't work out.
Okay, but you maintain your car, your house.
Exactly.
You maintain something.
You maintaining something better than you will yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's the only part of our body we act like don't need to be worked on.
But what I can appreciate is that we're turning a corner now, because I've met a lot more people that understand where they are mentally, are seeking counseling, guidance, or just doing the mental health checkups to make sure that they are showing up whole, and more men. And I'm like,
I love that, right?
Yeah. And so I can appreciate us now as opposed to maybe 10, 15 years ago when, the whole idea of having a therapist was like taboo.
In the Black community, for real.
Yeah.
And it's like, you must be crazy if you have a therapist. That's what they think.
I hope that it doesn't become a fad over a thing.
I was just going to say that.
Where we start to have useless therapy, because you can go and you can talk your butt off till you blue in the face, but are they healing? Are they making those connections? Are they giving you tools? Because we can I can sit here and identify I am a crackhead all day long. I go to the man, I snort it, I'm a crackhead. Now that I've identified it, if there's no real
She's
work
not really a crackhead. People.
I was gonna say that too. I'm like, I hope y'all know she's not really a crackhead. She ain't skinny enough to be a crackhead.
But when I give an example, I like for it to be clear, plain as day. And so you got that vision of a crackhead. They can say, I know I'm a crackhead. My lips white. I'm dried up. I can't go over my grandmama's house. That's my uncle is at home. I can't do none of that. But if I am not going to actually go to rehab and do the things that I need to do and stay away from the crowd, I can identify all day long. So I hope it doesn't become a fad where we're going and anybody that just got a license and we're just sitting down.
We're just talking to anybody.
And we're just talking.
Yeah.
Because you could just talk with your friends and get nothing from it. Identifying it. So many people walk around with a badge of, I identified it. And then that's when they still do something unhealthy and say, so I identified it. This is me. And they don't go the further step to say, this is me and I am wrong. I can be better. This is not right. I'm not getting what I'm looking for, and it's not them.
Whoa. We cannot gloss over the last statement you just made. Please say that last statement one more.
It's not them.
It's not them. It's me. That I have found with my clients, that is the hardest thing to ever say. It's not them. It's me. If you ask 100 people why their relationship failed, 99 of them is going to point to the other person.
Yes.
No doubt. Have you the stove process? Lord Jesus, wait a minute. I'm going to flip this to Valencia.
99 of them.
I know Valencia, what Valencia was saying. This, I would like to see if you feel the same way. You usually say, I did nothing wrong.
I did.
I don't like the wrong and right.
Right.
Not
and
really
because
I did nothing to contribute.
There isn't a wrong or right.
I did nothing to contribute.
Recognize what you brought to that table.
Absolutely. And
right.
even if it's my own perception of who that person was,
right?
That was me that did that. I painted the picture.
Look at
of
you.
Them. Yes. You see, I told you.
Come on, y'all. Three Shondo. Sign me up for the class. Three Shondo.
I would sit here and every time you say something, go, ooh.
And that
mother.
Valencia talked about it being the fact. I recently broke up with my therapist because.
Yeah,
because
you breaking up with everybody.
Because I didn't. It wasn't a good fit. It wasn't a good point. It wasn't a good fit. It was not what I needed to be productive. Me coming just to sit is just not productive. I need work. Give me an assignment to go back because I am a tangible learner. And so a lot of people, I tell my students all the time when we talk about tangible learning, they think you got to put stuff together. No, I need to do something with the material. So give me an assignment, make me go research it, come back and say, okay, this is what I found and this is how I digest it and this is how I interpret it. And we weren't doing that.
So here's how you
having girlfriend time.
Help pick a therapist. Because some therapists think all you need to do is get it off your chest.
Right.
And you're better.
Right.
So the question you need to ask when you're going to see anybody to help you, in whether it's counseling, therapy, coaching, is what's your area of expertise? What's your specialty? And if they say, oh, I'm general. Thank you very much for coming. All right, I'm out.
Well, she had very distinct areas.
So the next question is, she should ask you, what's your learning style?
And that didn't happen.
But I don't think everybody who's a therapist is meant for everybody.
They're not. But this is how you figure out. This is how you figure out who is for you and who is not for you. Yeah, it will.
Well, that's why I like what I'm going through, because I can sit there and I can talk and we can chat and we can go back and forth and I can even connect the dots without even whatever. I could do that. I did not have the skills. And I saw the result of this program through my husband. Who I have now is not who
I don't know who this
before.
Is sitting next to me.
I know. I'm like,
she just said I did not have the skill.
So that's what I mean. You can have the knowledge, but if you don't have the skills,
or practice what you know.
And like so this thing is actually just what you're saying. There's a workbook. We have handouts. We're reading. We're watching videos. And she does not call it therapy. This is education. With therapy is a couch.
Right.
And talking.
You're
Education
getting
is
tools.
Books and what absolutely. So I'm learning relearning, rewiring, and it sounds simple, but the affirmation.
You're using all the trigger words. So, rewiring. You have to.
All of those things that it's doing, and it's not just on a couch or whatever. And Toussaint is saying, responding back to Endai over here, that values are warped and our life goals forces us to aspire to insanity. So he's responding back when he said the concept of America. And so to Toussaint, I would just like to say, if you want to keep battling other people's values being warped, that is the distracting that's keeping you from getting where you're trying to be, because you're so focused on everyone else's values of America and their transactions and things.
Could be a fearful avoidance.
When we just turn around and just look at ourselves and see what we see America as, because if you see America as warped and you can't get ahead, then guess what?
That's going to be your experience.
That's going to be your reality.
You're not going to get ahead. Not saying none of the things are not happening. Racism, all those things are happening, but they're all mere distractions that you choose to get caught up in, focus on, and then that's what you're going to see, what you focus on. If you see yourself healthy, wealthy, and wise, then you'll be healthy, wealthy, and wise. So it just depends, Toussaint, how you want to continue to look at it, what battleground you want to fight your battle on, and it's not them.
And those things are taught, things are taught in so many different ways, and that's why you can have so many different teachers of how they do it, because you got to do what clicks for you. Yes. I mean, that law of attraction is the exact same thing.
Yes.
And so you could find somebody who works with how you learn, because everybody doesn't have the same learning style. So you find somebody.
As an educator, I tell my students the very first day of class, I'm not going to be the conduit of you learning this material. I'm not everyone's teaching style. I teach the way I best learn, and that's limited. So you are going to have to do the work yourself.
Tell them you're also dealing with adults, because that sounds like a big topic. Like if they think you teach your third grade.
She telling the babies she's not gonna help them learn.
But even
what school is that? I'm protesting.
I still think that's a different.
What school is that? I'm protesting.
You're talking to adults.
I'm talking to adults.
You're talking to grown-ups.
Grown folks. I'm talking to grown folks that
fully,
although they're coming off of being in high school, there's still that curve of being responsible for what you learn and what your experience is in this classroom. And that's just in life. You just have to take the responsibility for, hey, something is off. How do I do the work? And there's no excuse anymore. If you got these dang on smartphones, you can smartphone your way into a better situation where you're more comfortable or you're aware. And so now you walk in and say, I think, this might be what I'm dealing with. And so how do I find someone to help me with that? Or how do I find material to help me through that?
And you may be reaching, because we're all talking about the same thing in different various degrees.
Absolutely.
Because they may actually not even know that, know that they're not, if their parents have ingrained them, just sit down and study. You don't know this. I mean, you don't know where.
That. Yeah.
Unfortunately, to just tell them, go get it yourself, they may not actually know how to go about that. It may sound as simple as just go Google and do this and do this. So that's why we say doing the work is unlearning what we've learned starts from so young.
You got to rewire. She said rewire. That is so critical. So Jay, I'm trying to catch the comments from the watch party. Jay put, why do they push good people away? Why do fearful avoidance push good people away?
It's a defense mechanism. It has nothing to do with the other person. It's absolutely the fearful avoidance. So that's just how we operate. One, to safeguard ourselves, our emotions, our feelings, but it's just the way we.
So it's like here's why.
And it's proving themselves right. In the end, they want to prove themselves right so much, and it comes from somewhere along the way.
I was going to say that.
They saw someone give someone their all and see it, the appearance of someone being good. Yeah. Or they experience it. But 9 out of 10, I bet you experienced it because you saw it before you even knew that's what you saw. So I'll just give an example. Let's say we have a 2-parent home and you think everything's fine, but yet you don't even know that, because we think our children are unaware of the fights and the arguments that we have. But when we were little, I'm sure dad did something and dad was everything in your eyes, and you saw dad do something that hurt mom. So that subconsciously, even without the words being spoken, said to you good people will hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
So now you go into your adolescence and things and you're dating and it happens to you. So now you already have told yourself, you've proven to yourself, and you want to prove to yourself again, not knowing it's self-sabotage, because if you heal that, you won't push the good person away. And then mom was wrong. Dad was wrong. But we can't get there. And so we
I don't like to use the wrong.
We're not wrong. I'll say they made mistakes.
They contributed.
They planted this unhealthy seed, is what I'll say. Not being wrong. They planted the unhealthy seed.
So there's a couple of terms that I want to make sure we get. Adverse childhood experiences. There's a whole bunch of research on it. They call it ACE. What's your ACE now?
Yeah.
In an adverse childhood experience, what most of us do is coping mechanisms. And some of us develop coping mechanisms based on one of the other three unhealthy categories. So when a fearful avoidant, what the coping mechanism that they have developed is, I have been hurt before, whether it's as a adolescent, an infant, or I've been disappointed before. And so to avoid being disappointed, I won't let you disappoint me because I know eventually you will. And so the nicer you are,
you recall the hurt. So it's not like, oh, you didn't show up. It's like you
know the emotion of it.
That person didn't show up. And so now you're like, okay, that it's no different than touching a stove. When you teach the kid about the stove, they have some type of experience that says, oh, it's hot. So all of my little cousins, when they come around, they be like, hot, hot, hot. Because at some point in time, they've had the experience of the heat of the stove.
Mm-hmm.
And so their recall is every time they come in the kitchen, even when the stove isn't on, that is a reminder of hot, an unpleasant experience, an unpleasant physical experience. And that notion is no different than, oh, this right here, that unpleasant experience. And so I'm going to avoid that altogether.
Here's the key, though. When a fearful avoidant is trying to avoid an experience, what triggers the fear is greatness. So when the dopamine that rushes to the brain when they get excited about something triggers fear. So for example, if your dad, for example, promised to pick you up at 2:00 but didn't show up, and then the next week promised to pick you up at 2:00 and didn't show up, and the excitement you felt when you thought he was coming, that the way you felt. Now, if another person elicits the same type of excitement, that's where the fear kicks in.
Or you might even not allow them to do it. I don't know which one that is, but you go, I'm not even going to get excited no more.
That's the dismissive avoidant.
There you probably won't even show up anyway, so I'm not even going to start to get excited.
That's the next one. That's dismissive avoidant. That person won't even let you make them excited. And so there is literally nothing you can do to engage intimacy with a dismissive avoidant because they're dismissing intimacy altogether.
So I wanted to bring up something you brought up with the childhood experiences. What I really found, and I will only say this from my example because I don't have other people, but just the work I've done for myself, is you can have parents that you haven't really thought that did anything wrong or were bad or raised in a two-parent household. And how I know that people still need this work is because just of the outcome of their lives right now. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, they will say right now, come from a two-parent household. But what I like to say is your parents, I'm not saying your parents are wrong. It was what they knew, but what you saw, like you mentioned, is what I saw. So once I went back and asked my dad his story, like how did he get with my mother and how that all, and once I heard his story, it all started to make sense of what I saw. What I didn't realize I was seeing because I didn't care.
Absolutely.
I wasn't paying no attention to that.
And it humanizes it.
I grew up
humanized it, and it made sense. So once he told me, I realized when you were 5, I didn't love your mother no more, but I stayed for you.
I grew up in a two-parent household.
I did as well.
And what people would say, loving two-parent household. And I grew up with a fearful avoidant attachment style. And you know why? I learned through the work when I was younger. I would be excited to bring home things like grades, right? And my parents would say it would be 4 A's and 1 B.
That B is what they're
and the B is the only thing they would focus on. So I learned not to get excited. Or when I get excited, I'm like, oh crap, here it goes. But through the work, my attachment style has become more secure. You hear the key words?
Yeah,
more secure.
Still working
No,
on
they
it.
do with me yet. More secure.
Because my parents made it. You're not good enough. Just that good enough. If you got 4 A's and 1 B,
we need to get you a
You need a tutor.
What happened here? You should have had all A's on this 1 B. I don't know what you did, and I start feeling bad about myself. Like, man, I could have done. Why didn't I do that? I mean, and I still struggle with this to this day. I can't take compliments. I don't even know how to respond when somebody says, "Oh, you do this."
You know what I'm saying? You be like,
I still
you
struggle with how you. I avoid it. I'm gonna keep going, or I'm gonna put myself down. Well, I only paid $1 for it, so I mean, you say that's a nice blouse, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna find some way to knock it down.
That would be a dismissive avoidant.
Is that what it is? Because I'm looking at this and I can't tell where I fit in.
Well,
I gotta think
where you stay emotionally a dismissive avoidant stays emotionally distant from you.
Oh, then that's
so that there is a line of intimacy, and I'm not anywhere near that line, and I'm not letting you anywhere near that line either. That's what a dismissive. So they're the ones who will the extreme. Let me talk extreme first, and then we'll push closer. Extreme case of dismissive avoidant is I don't need no man, or I don't need no woman, or all men are this, or all women are that. That's a dismissive avoidant. They isolate themselves from intimacy, and they do that because they feel like that is safe. It's the safer way to avoid being hurt.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Absolutely. So you're tuned in to He Said, She Said on IntellectualRadio.com, and we've been talking about attachment styles. We're going to talk about the 5 stages of love. We kind of blended it all in. I kind of think it works together and blends in together, and I appreciate everybody who tunes in. I'm not watching the watch party for the Facebook people. Yeah. I give up because me and my laptop, I don't know, we having it out. I don't know what we're going to do in 2020, but we're going to have to do something different. He's a dismissive. He giving me the flux right now, but we're gonna see where he got that from in his childhood. Cause Best Buy, what you do to him?
He has had
it's that virus.
So thank you again, and we're gonna try to fit in your comments. I don't see many of them flowing. I don't think I've missed many. But
I've been handing on the watch. R2 just said fear.
You got to read his comment prior to that.
Hold on. It's when you switch the entirety of the journey of life is about love. That's it. That's all. The social norms of all societies create the value systems, and in the system of race-based capitalism, very few of us are guided by love. And then the last one was fear is the opposite of love. Love and fear cannot exist together. That is absolutely true. However,
I was going to say there's a big however.
The journey is what all of us are on. And when you choose a partner, that partner's role in your life is to come alongside you on your journey, and you come alongside them on their journey. Whatever the pace of their journey is, and whatever the pace of your journey is, it is to discover love. But in order to discover love, you must first discover you, because you were created in the image of love. But many of us struggle with that discovery because we think the journey in relationships is about the other person.
Finding another person who's not like that.
Right. It's about finding the other person doing as
right.
opposed to you being. We are human beings, not human doings. And so when we get into relationships and start talking about what do you have? Do you get this? Do you spend that? Do you get that? I engage in that, but it really irks me because that's not the crux of the work. The crux of the type of work is the kind of questions that your coach is asking you to ask yourself about you. Because when you start to do that, then you can have empathy for the other person, because you're like, ooh, I remember when I didn't know that, or I was like that, or I did it, and then you can just sit back and let them discover. I tell people in relationships, if you find yourself in a teacher role in a relationship, you're wrong. You're wrong. Your job is not to teach your spouse. Your job is to come alongside your spouse or your mate as a companion as they discover their journey, whatever that is.
So
how did your husband teach you? He did on his own.
On his own.
You saw the effects it had on him, and you was like, I want that. Whatever that is.
And now he sits back and he understands and he laughs. He was like, ooh.
You see, that is what it's all about. The journey, not the destination.
But that the journey begins with you. It doesn't begin
the journey to wholeness begins with you.
Because I do think a lot of times we see the remedy is a lot of times people say, well, you just need to make better choices.
You're right. Or leave. Get rid of him or get rid of her. No.
It's not that simple.
Because all 25 of the people you dated, you had the exact same experience. Which means it's you.
And it takes, sometimes you're still in the relationship. So I think that's kind of the hard part and why it takes doing the work between yourselves. For some people, if you're in a marriage and 10 years in, you're used to blaming them. I mean, it really is a habit. It is what y'all do. He's at fault. He's at fault. He's at fault. And to really, someone told me this, the show coming up next, Overcoming Obstacles, which is on at 4:00 here on Intellectual Radio. Jada Tennille James, you have to check her out because she's a phenomenal woman. She also has a group, Phenomenal Woman, on Facebook. So join that group. She has over 40,000 women who in her group of who she discusses these topics with. And she said that in her marriage, they stopped and not separated, but they took time to work on themselves in the relationship. Married, and said, okay, I'm solely going to do this work on my own, and you solely do your work on your own, and let's see what happens with our marriage. And she was like, it was the whole turning point.
That's the turning point.
When they didn't go to a marriage counselor and both sit together.
Right.
They didn't try to do this work of me listening to your problems and work out what you have.
And defending myself.
Defending myself with your therapist. And we
ain't got time for that.
They went. They lived in the same home, but decided to solely take this time to work on yourself. Absolutely. And how healthy their relationship is now because they did it that way. And I've never heard someone do that before. But
it allows you to bring a whole person to the relationship, as opposed to a person. And I don't say this to mean broken, but broken is the only word I got. Broken, which you're. A broken person, I should say, and I forgive me for the word broken, because that's not the right word. Unhealed person. Unaware. There you go. An unhealed person brings the majority of their interactions are under the guise of coping mechanisms. So you're not actually interacting with the real essence of who the beautiful person is. Absolutely. You're dealing with their coping mechanism, or as we might call it, their representative. They're pseudo. Yeah.
I know a couple that embarked on couples counseling, and one of the members of the couple is my friend, and I was like, yo, y'all put the cart before the horse, because before you can come in together, y'all need to do this separately. That way you're aware of what is happening individually before you can work on this relationship, because all they do at that point is defend. I'm defending why I did this, but they're not talking about the why. Why do you behave this way? Why did you, perceive for it like that?
But unfortunately, that's how we make it to counseling. It's always couples based.
Because you go to counseling
because you're trying to fix that you're in, that you see something wrong. Or we won't say we need fixed, that there's nothing wrong with us. So we won't go do the individual.
You know why most people go to counseling? So that they can get somebody to agree with them and tell the other person that they're wrong.
Defend me in front of him.
Right. And they get so shocked. And let me tell you something. They quit counseling when the counselor doesn't agree with them.
Right. Or the other one says she only agrees with you. So I don't even want to go.
So what I tend to do now, I don't actually do counseling, I do coaching. What I tend to do now is if couples
come. What's the difference once you get done?
Because coaching gives you tools. Counseling listens.
Yes.
What we do now is if couples come, I separate them immediately and they go through a timeline. So we put together this timeline, and it shows what were your ups, what were your downs, how were you feeling in the ups, how were you feeling with the downs, and then they exchange them. And then I don't even have to say anything. By the time they're done talking about that stuff, they can see that's why you respond to me that way, or that's why you respond to me. And that's session one. That's just session one. Half of the time, if you give them the tools to communicate or understand this is where this is coming from, they respond differently. You respond. You just respond
I
differently.
just also think too, to get to that point with, as far as couples, you have to be willing to be vulnerable, because you have to let another person know all of this stuff, right? And you have to trust that they're not going to judge, that their love is not going to waver, and things of that nature. And so it takes, if you're in a relationship, I think it's harder to go and work on yourself. However, the key to finding out if that relationship is for you is to work on yourself, because now you have healthier vision. You know, and 2020 is coming up. You need to get you some 2020.
Some 2020
in
vision.
2020.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you must look at self. But unfortunately, the reality is we're still gonna have, hopefully this reaches one or two, but
that's okay.
It's gonna be few.
Yeah.
And but you have to let, it's sort of like the difference between a Christian that goes to church, the one that comes home and now they want to tell you everything you need to do out this Bible. Scripture, that's not going to make me want to go to your church.
It's not.
But if I say, dang, this person is always happy, and they seem, even I know her lights was off and she still had this joy and this, what is that?
She's so caring.
She's
so loving.
Even when she didn't have nothing,
so
she's
kind.
Homeless. She just, you want to know what is that? And so that's the difference too.
Being,
like,
and not
you understand
being.
what I'm saying? So now with this whole thing, it's like when you're going through this should make the person next to you want some of that.
And that is quite literally what you described your husband doing.
Yes.
He didn't say, Valencia, you know what? I pay for you to go to this course.
Or this is what I learned.
This is what you need.
Wrong with you.
Right.
I
Oh my
went to therapy
God.
today, and this is what I learned
wrong
that
with
you
you.
need to do.
Yes.
Like, no, dude.
So in his communication and his explaining made me understand like where this is coming from, because he was able to communicate, and it was awesome to have that. I was already kind of like on a journey to find, I knew it was something. I knew it was somebody that would match my crazy, right? Because I had been being told before I was crazy, you'll never find that and that. And on my list was never material things. It never had a face on it, a height. It was these interactions between me and this person that I verbalized that I wanted. The energy, the respect, the knowledge, the journey to get to number 5 on that list.
But you have to realize it's because you were becoming it.
Yes, I was.
It wasn't that you were looking to find. It's
and
not
so
how
I was on.
She was on the cusp of saying the journey, and then she.
I was on a. I didn't even know that was the journey that I was already kind of subconsciously working on. That was and so
that
one of the things that I learned, I had to do something. And looking at it on paper. So we're talking about tools, and I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for sharing this, Kathleen, but I'm gonna do it. So there was an exercise that I had to do, going back to your how do you learn, and I had to write down what I loved, what I hated about my mother, my father, myself, my ex-husband, and my current husband.
I love how she did that.
And when I did that,
what
you loved, what I loved, and what I hated.
What you hated. Yeah,
who are the people?
My mother, my father,
your nucleus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your nuclear family.
My ex-husband, because that was the big time.
That was a time period.
Yeah, and then my current. All right.
I love it.
And when I did that, although I worded it differently, what I hated about my mother.
Can we pause?
What?
Tu said, that's a strong man. I don't even know him, and I respect him.
You better put some respect on his name.
Put some respect on his name.
Yeah, put some respect on
his name. And she softened up with that.
You see how she softened up?
Put some respect on his
name. And when I compared the list, the connection between what I hated about my mother and what I hate about myself was there, even though it was worded differently. What I hated about my father is what I went to, and the same thing I hated in the men that I chose. My husband list, what I hate about him was so short. There was just a couple of things on there, some minor, don't even really count things. But what I hated about my father did not show up in my current husband.
I love it.
So, but it was, I couldn't ever put that together until, it was in writing, and then you compare.
And I'm going to bring this full circle because I've been going back and forth with somebody on Facebook. Facebook, to me, I know a lot of people don't like it, but I use it as a workbook for myself at the same time. A lot of times someone said about what the child's mother did and what they've been saying about each other, and how you think about like you said, is how they will think about themselves.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And when I said what you're doing with your child, you saying this about them and saying this about her, and my child she upset over what Christmas and getting a gift. And we don't realize, and I'll say this even as a parent, because now I analyze all this as my children are adults, and I'm like watching how they behave, and then you see kind of where you were like, so as I watch this, that all those things matter. It's forming what they feel about themselves.
It's and that's what people don't understand. It's forming what they feel about themselves. Yeah. And anything you say, whether we know this or not, some of you know I have an ex-wife. I'm the mother of my children, and I don't say. People ask me, why don't you say bad stuff about her? I said, because if I would literally be subconsciously telling my kids bad stuff about themselves. You can't do that, because what you feel about what you communicate about their parent, you are communicating to your child that is who you are as well.
And you're not saying it because you think, no, I don't. I'll never say nothing bad about him, but I can't stand her. I mean, they still feel that energy. Right. They still pick up on that.
The interaction,
that interaction with them.
And no matter how young, because sometimes we are talking above their head. Having had a 3-year-old, I've had conversations and
they're walking DVRs.
It was a mechanical issue I was having with my car, and I didn't discuss it because she's 3. Like, how you gonna help me out with the car? And she went right back and told my mom, Grandma B, because we had to get the windshield wiper fixed because the pump. I was like, what you know about pump? What you know about? I didn't. And that was a conversation I did not have with her directly, but she was around everything. And because kids are always so anxious around any environment to take from it, she just looked and listened to the guy talk to me, and she knew, this is where you take the car to get fixed. Yeah, she was figuring life out.
And that goes back to that post we had that was saying, should we apologize and explain to the children?
Yes.
And it's like, yes, you should. And some people are like, depends or whatever.
It does not.
So and that goes to something else that, we think that they shouldn't have a choice, a voice, or anything. And one of the other things that I learned that we would put on, that I had to go back and find out, that children are not allowed to express anger. We do not want them to be angry, because then that means we fail. We take that on person. We did something wrong if you're angry. So the only thing we want to see is a happy child or a sleepy child or a hungry child. Right. We don't want them to ever be upset or angry. And so we
see it as a confrontation that you're not old enough to have with me.
But the underlayment of that is that you are getting ready to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I fail. I am failing. I've done something wrong. And so you don't have that. You're the one person I have authority over.
I get to be the boss to somebody, and it's going to be this little person.
The world is telling me that. Yep. You don't get to tell me that. And we're giving so many bad signals and messages with that. So now we have this, we're teaching them how to lie. We're teaching them how to disguise their feelings.
And we're not teaching them how to speak about their feelings
with authority.
Absolutely.
We're telling them to bottle it up. We're telling them to go and let it come out in this way. And it is tremendously. And that's exactly. And so we come into these relationships thinking that we're aware, that we're okay, and we're not. So the message
or learning to match.
Yes, we have learned a totally different person to be. And that's where we have to get back to clearing that up so that you can be.
I think
those are all coping mechanisms.
Some people cope with what they dealt with by being so totally opposite.
Yes.
My mother didn't let me do this. My father didn't let me do this. So I'm going to do all this.
So I'm going buck. I'm going buck.
Let me tell you.
Again, isn't always bad, though. So this is my last 3.
So far over is bad.
Well, this is my last 3-year-old reference, is that I wanted to have open conversations with a 3-year-old. So when I would spank her, I would go back and say, hey, I apologize, but this is why you had to have discipline. And so she got to a point where, and I've only had to spank her twice. The second time she was like, Auntie Mom, apologize. And I was like, no. But then I was like, okay, she understands the concept that she was hurt in the midst of it. But her dialogue back to me was like, I probably should not have done that because I wasn't supposed to. So she understood the dialogue of apology, and I made sure not to have her take the blame of everything either. Always like, oh, I was a bad girl, so I shouldn't do.
Well, I don't think
You're
that
a
we need
three-year-old.
to should tell her that she wasn't a bad girl, but she still should be taught responsibility, and with that accountability,
absolutely,
responsibility, and your apology probably wasn't warranted because now she feels like that's a piece of her being able to acknowledge her accountability as if you apologize. And so we still even thinking that we're doing better than is what I meant by swinging over, because baby, I couldn't breathe when I was growing up.
Man.
And then I got into another marriage where I couldn't breathe. Baby, when I left him, the kids knew Mama got that red bag, baby. She not coming back. Y'all kick it. Don't have the police here. Mama getting ready to kick it. And then I'll see ya. I'm gonna be back. They were teenagers, and I was like, and I that pendulum swung hard for me. I was like, look, we are free. We done made it up north. We free.
And that was that celebration. So life coach moment. I want to go back to the 3-year-old for a second. A different tool. Never allow a person, a child, or anyone, or yourself to say, I am something, unless that's positive.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
when a person says, I am bad, correct them. No, you're not. You're wonderful. And then give them 3 positive things about themselves and say, what you did was wrong, or you could have made a better choice, but
showing the action and removing that from the person.
Right. Because I know adults that you cannot tell what they did was wrong because they do not have the ability to disassociate that with who they are.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, I think if we expand our vocabulary and don't tell them it was wrong, tell them it was disrespectful, it was demeaning, it was hurtful. It was because now they can get back to the feeling. Now I can feel that and be like, and if your people, they're your regular human beings. We know there's some crazies, but your regular human being, if you let them know that they were hurtful and they were disappointing and they were all of these things, that's going to hit something and make them say, oh, I don't want to make people feel that way. But if you say you made me mad, okay, well, you shallow, you sensitive. But if you say you hurt me, that was hurtful, that was disrespectful. Now we got another caliber of conversation.
And it goes
so let's take this
circle.
deeper.
I was about to say full circle moment is going back to a relationship and saying you hurt me and having the full dialogue that this behavior is what.
So let me give the tools in this situation isn't you hurt.
You did it.
Mm-hmm.
The tools in this situation is here's how I received what just happened.
You have to talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
They defend themselves. As soon as you start saying what you did, they defend themselves.
I felt hurt in this moment. Or if you really want to take this to the root and the ground level, what we're being trained to say is, help me understand why you did X, Y, or Z. Because oftentimes the interpretation of what we saw is where the pain actually lies. It's not in the actual thing.
In relationships, it seems there's a true vulnerability. So you have to get very secure in wanting to heal whatever you're talking about and not being right or not.
You can either be right or married. Pick one.
But a lot of people feel like if I talk that way, it's going to seem like I'm wrong, and I'm not wrong. You wrong. So
you don't want to feel like a sellout. And that goes back to personalities too. There's different kind of personalities. If you're familiar with the DISC system, there's different personalities that have to have like certain. So I am kind of like, my combination is considered like IE, quote unquote, BITCH. My personality thing, and so
that's a personality thing.
I don't know that I've read that in
the two that my number one and my number one and my number two mixed together is not really like the most. I have to be more aware of myself, put it like that, on how I come off as people with that personality. And that's what people have to do when you're learning it. Once again, it doesn't mean you learn it and say, this is me. I learned I am a D and I need control and blah, blah, blah. You say, okay, I'm a D, and when I come off as rough, I come off as intimidating. Now, what do I need to do to make sure that I don't be perceived that way?
Or, hold on. Or where is it appropriate to come off that way? Because you were created that way.
Yeah.
So where is that appropriate? Because he gave you
Absolutely.
that for a reason. How do I ensure that I don't? There's a gift and a burden. How do I make sure that I am in my gift and not in my burden? You see what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
there are some places where if your husband will just turn you loose and just sit back and be like, sucks to be y'all. Good luck. No, because that's where it's appropriate.
Yes.
And then there are places where you'd be like, you know what? I probably should put her away for a moment and have a different kind of conversation with you.
I'm a D too. So Tucson says, regardless of those exes,
he said, I don't care where it's from.
If they brought you to where you are, they are a greater benefit to your journey than a hindering. If we are being self-accountable, if we mention the ex, should it be from fix say that for me differently.
Which one? Hold on. Oh, I know. I went to the watch party.
It's regardless of the ex fault. He's saying basically you should be still excited about the ex because it still helped you grow on that was a piece of your journey. If being self-accountable, if we mention the ex, it should be from the perspective of how we grew.
From a positive perspective.
From a positive perspective. And Anna Nicole, you are completely correct. And that's when you do the work, your D will change. So as
What's
you were
your
saying, in the DISC system, there's DISC. The D is you have more dominant personality. I is kind of like fun person. S is kind of like wants to people please, and C is very calculated and need details. And so I'm a DI.
Is there a test? Because I know a lot of people always go, I'm alpha. They choose which one they think they are versus what they really are.
So this is one of the things that people think is weird.
But the Ds won't really take the test.
Yeah, right. Because they already, ain't nothing wrong with a D. I got this, right?
What is this called? What are these letters?
DISC.
I
actually, once again, I did it. Some jobs will give you this, and they do it just to kind of see where you would be a good fit or not. But they surface touch it. I happen to be another luxury.
I'm loving Kathleen.
This disc actually, this comes from my husband though. He actually, because after the program with Kathleen, he wanted more. He's one of those, he needs more. He has to feed his brain every day. So he went into NLP and he did this disc. And so we actually did the disc test in great detail. He's certified in giving it. And it not only breaks him down, it breaks me down, and then it pairs us together and gives us both things that we got to remember what not to expect from that other person. So my husband knows his standards are so beyond where I will ever be that he needs not to measure me by those standards. No, really. And these are things that, once again, you have to be vulnerable because I can't take that personal. I can't take that as I'm not good enough. That's just his C thing. And I have to understand that's him and let him be. And
I want to take this test.
I will look you up.
He got to let you be.
Yeah, he has to let me be. We got you. And so Anna Nicole is correct when she says that you have to learn, because my husband is a D, but you will not be able to tell he's a D until he's in these situations where he has to exert it. And he exerts it very little, but it's there. And so, like Anna said, now you just but mostly see his C. And his nerdness, his needing the details, his organization. And so when Anna Nicole says that she's working on emotional intelligence, made her a high I. And so I am also an I. And so it will do that, and it will come off, and you will be much more pleasant of a person when you learn who you are and learn how to
be
navigate.
Okay with
okay to say it's okay though for me to be because
it's not okay because that's just the thing to say. Well, I know. That go back to what we've been saying throughout the show. You can't just say now you know, and this is who you are.
This is who I am, and that's exactly what I was about to say. It's a horrible step to take to say this is who I am, so you have to deal with this.
Right.
Because who you are does not fit into every dynamic, and so we have to be accommodating.
I think my phone died.
To be able to interact with others, because we don't live in a monotone society, a monolithic society.
So I agree. It's imperative to say this is who I am now. How do I evolve to who I need to become?
Absolutely.
Because that's the question. Who do you need to become
to get what it is you want. Now,
What
if
it
you
is
want
you
the
want.
confusion
Right.
and you want the misinterpretation of yourself, you want the blockages from
stay who you
succeeding,
are.
then stay who you are.
Right, stay who you are.
Yeah, but
Don't waste anybody else's time.
Right.
I notice a lot with Facebook is so many people do feel like they need to teach you to be like them or think like them
Because they're defending. That's a defense mechanism, and it's fear-based.
Yep. It is definitely a coping.
Because we've been always
defense
taught it's
mechanism.
right and wrong. We are not open to there is no right or wrong. Work on yourself. Find someone that thinks what you think and has worked as hard as
Because
you
it's
work.
uncomfortable.
And
Shares
then
your
just do
core
it. Yeah,
values.
exactly. It's
There-
same thing
listen.
they do with these
Oh, my
companies. You
God.
have a list of core values. Can you roll with these? Integrity,
Period.
this and that. They
Go on
feed
over
you
there
out
somewhere.
of here.
Yeah.
You're not on this team anymore.
Your core values are more important than your common traits. We both like skiing. We both like dancing. We both like stepping. That your
Means
core
nothing.
values mean 100 times more. Like, we are both honest. We both believe in self-development. So we both believe in letting you be who you are, which means you can like stepping and I can like skiing, and we still cool.
And we are.
We
And like
good.
last time I went down, they like, where your husband? At home,
At
on his
home.
computer.
Chilling.
Where you
Right,
want to
Oh,
He
Chilling.
made sure my wig was straight before I left, and he
Yeah.
said,
Have a good time. Go. Yeah, and we good. We can be good. But that is core values that make relationships work. Because in the 5 stages of love, you discover your core values in stage 3. Now let's talk about what are those stages. You see
So
our transition?
let's do this a recap because we're in the final minutes of He Said, She Said on IntellectualRadio.com, and we're trying to at least, I like to have people wrap up and have something to take with them and not just, besides listening to our conversation and being a part of the conversation, which I always appreciate. I would like for you to maybe walk away with a tool or something, maybe in your tool bag that you can use after this show. So I have some experts here on the panel. I just love my little He Said, She Said team. Why don't we recap some of we talked about the
attachment styles
and
DISC.
Do we know in DISC, and that sounds like something I really like to have
people should take their attachment style test and DISC.
We're gonna have a DISC night. We'll skip the vision board because everybody doing vision boards. I think we're gonna do a DISC night. Can we ask your husband to come out? We're gonna have a DISC. That's what I'm gonna plan. I like that a lot better. That's a tool I can walk away with. Yes, work on your visions and keep those visions.
But that could be a part of your vision board.
But that could all be a part of. Oh yes, it could be a whole thing night. Oh, I'm feeling it. Okay, that's gonna happen. So a tool, because a lot of times knowing that I'm one of these things still doesn't help me what I should be doing different. Exactly. I mean, I don't really know what. Okay, now I just learned I'm disoriented, whatever, Beverly.
I'm dismissive. So now what?
I'm gonna give a tool that I probably should have given years ago. It is the 5-second pause. Before you open your mouth, before you say anything, before you respond, take 5 seconds, pause, and in that pause, ask yourself this question: what am I feeling? And when was the first time I've ever felt that?
I use that one, and boy, does it work, and it avoids a lot of arguments. Sometimes I go with the first thought. I will say, sometimes I just let it out. So it really
had to backtrack, but
we still at God. We still working. We still working. Right. Because even as the coach, sometimes I'll be like, you know what? If I ever start a sentence with, you know what?
Watch out.
Watch out.
Or first of all. Yeah.
Valencia, you've been doing so much work. What would you? She's already shared. So I know.
I can't even call her Valencia no more.
I know.
What's your last name?
What's your last name?
Miss Murray. That's Miss Murray.
And when we out, people be pronouncing it Murray. So I told them that's my
the French
version
of Miss Murray. Valencia Murray.
This is who's sitting at the table.
Yeah,
Valencia Murray.
I appreciate that you all see that, because that's, when you do the work, someone should see that it's happening and it's real. So
it makes you happy.
I can sense that it's real.
I am on a whole nother, I love it.
Vibration.
You're
vibrating very different.
Energy is so different. I was always had an energy, didn't know what people were talking about, still trying to figure out what it is. But I would say the number one tool is first just be vulnerable with yourself. Be vulnerable with yourself. Find someone that's just not talking. The good analogy that we gave in the show, therapy versus coaching, counseling versus coaching. If you think about it, if you go to see a counselor, you're talking to them, they're advising and just a little bit of helping you with what you want to do. You went to high school, the counselor told you, what do you want to do? Okay, this is what you do. And they told you what you need to do based on what you want. But when you go to coach, you're running drills. They put things in your head to give you things. When you get in here and they block you to the left, then you go to the left, and then you swap it down with the right. And so that's the difference. Find someone that's actually doing some work and some teachings. And one little thing, like I said, if you could just sit down and jot down, you would see that it would be really hard for lots of people to do the love-hate. They struggle to say what they hate about their parents. If you can get through that, you're starting to break through to be able to make the connections on what you need to do in yourself and where you got them from.
And I love that. And feed it all love, because this is all based on love. This is not done to hurt anybody, to change your opinion of either any parent or then. This is all to be a better you, and it's coming from a place of love. And when it starts from a place of love, then there's no wrong, right. It needs no explanation. You don't need to feel bad about it. It is because this is love. Valencia, Nina, sorry.
That's so funny.
I looked you right in your eyes and said her name. Valencia. But I want you to, because I got another thing.
She wanted to say something to Valencia.
But I actually wanted to tell you to do something else, because we're going to go back around this way. Tell people how to reach you is what I wanted to say. Tell people how to reach you as well. Give us a tip. You gave us a few nuggets. Give us one.
Crooklyn underscore girl. My hot toddy is kicking in. And then Mimi Award, and I'm not sick. I just like hot toddies.
I can't.
I say just start. Just start somewhere. This is, a lot of people bash about the cliche of vision boards and having these goals that's a start. And then follow through. So be realistic about areas in your relational life, since we're talking about relationship dealing, and then just focus in on one thing and do the work, whether it's going to seek professional assistance or just delving into all of this material that's out there to just figure it out.
I love that.
I say just start.
How to reach you? Oh, go ahead.
Can I add one thing to that? It's okay to... The greatest basketball player in the history of basketball players needed help. Michael Jordan's trainer is Tim Grover, the best of the best. So I don't want people to walk away feeling like I don't need no help. To be great, it takes a team. Who is your team? And a coach or counselor or therapist is a part of your team of greatness. So don't be afraid to use
be
one.
The best you, like you say. If Michael Jordan is the best, I want to be the best from head to toe. I want to.
And even after he got the help from them, he still needed Scotty. And he couldn't do that.
Tell me how to reach you, Valencia.
I am just on plain old Facebook, y'all. Valencia Murray.
They're gonna be like, is that what a little thing?
Somebody gonna be putting an right.
Get on, Ann. Your French version.
I'm Valencia Murray on Facebook.
Miss Murray, Miss Murray, if you know.
Miss Murray, if you're healed.
I know, right? Well.
Will.
James Borshay.
Oh, how to reach me? I'm on Facebook, James Borshay. Instagram, Coach James Borshay. That is.
And I have some things I want to shout out. I definitely want to mention Allstate, whether you need auto, home, or life insurance. I'd love for you to give Sal a call. The number is 708-599-5100. Tell Sal I sent you. Get some insurance, life insurance, all of that good stuff. You need it. I'd also want to ask you to join our Facebook group, He Said, She Said. We talk about these same conversations, maybe in a less formal way, but join our group, like our page. I'd also want you to like our media chicks. We are all women in media trying to help each other, the sisterhood of growing stronger in what we do. And that's whether you're an entrepreneur, because people ask me all the time, well, I'm not in media. Oh, yes, you are. If you have to market yourself, market your business, market you, promote work, whatever you are, you're a media chick. I want you to join that group and like that page as well. And I wanted to be on Facebook like a bumblebee. Find me, inbox me. If you'd like to be a part of the show in 2020, let me know that, because we love to have new people, new faces. But I want you to do the biggest thing ever. I want to see you next year. the same time, same place, here on IntellectualRadio.com.
All inclusion, no confusion. He said, she said, clearing up the drama with Wanda.